morning. I want to start over. Calling this meeting to order. It's 1:06 on October 28, 2020. We are experiencing some technical difficulties. However, we are going to march forward. Actually, the Public Utilities Commission continued to do business well before the modern technology that we have today existed. So I think we'll still be able to do what it is we need to do. A couple of things should be mentioned at the outset. Thank Barry Schreiber from the Mille Lacs County Historical Society for making this room available with the appropriate kind of spacing so we can get people in. And in the future, we'll be able to open the doors to more folks that want to come in and participate. Second order of business, before we get to the minutes, is a note that our secretary, Mrs. Coleman, is not here today. She's out sick, and we asked that Mr. Butcher has agreed to take notes, and we will have a recorded history of this meeting. The first order of business will be the approval of minutes.
So moved.
I have a move and a second. I don't know if Dan's here, but failing hearing anything from Dan, I will second that. No further discussion?
Oh, he seconded it.
Huh?
Dan did second.
Oh, Dan did second, so we got a Dan second on that. So all those in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I assume Dan said aye, so that motion is carried. Let's get a new gal. Motion carried 3-0. Second, number 3 on the agenda is the public comments. The guidelines are that public comments are part of every commission meeting. This is an opportunity for anyone wishing to address the commission on a matter that is not on the agenda. Just as a reminder, we do have guidelines. We welcome public comments, and anyone indicating a desire to speak will be acknowledged by the chair. Before you begin, please state your name, address, and topic. Remarks should be addressed to the commission as a whole and not to any specific member or to any person who is not a member of the commission. If there are a number of individuals present to speak on the same subject, we ask you to designate a spokesperson to summarize the issue. We ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes. During visitor presentations, commission and staff will listen to your comments. We will not necessarily engage in discussion. The commission, with the general manager, may ask questions in order to gain a thorough understanding of our concerns, suggestions, and/or requests. Lastly, please be aware that disrespectful comments or comments of a personal nature directed at any individual, either by name or by inference, will not be allowed. Personal concerns should be directed to the general manager. If there is anybody who would like to address the council on commission on a matter that is not on the agenda, please say so and step to the podium. I have no respondents. At this point, I would ask if you had any email or text messages to the office with questions or comments.
I have not, sir.
Hearing none, I will move to number 4 on the agenda, the approval of the agenda, the petitions and or deletions.
I have not.
I said none. I would like to add an 8H. 8H is COVID cost tracking. And I'm looking for their discussion of how we are tracking that and the procedures that are in place for that.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anything else? I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Motion has been made.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Dan's cutting
I will
it.
second that motion. Any further discussion on that? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Echo of an eye on the back, so we have that motion carried. Number 5 is the approval of the expenses. They're listed in your section 5 there. You'll have a few moments to review those.
I have a question on 55.
I'm sorry, which number?
55. The boring.
Yes, sir.
How often do we experience that cost? I'm sure it varies, but
Yeah, so, just so for the recording, the question on the boring costs, that is something that we are incurring on a regular basis as we convert more and more to underground. So it is a more regular cost because of that conversion. Historically, it would be very minimal, if we were just doing repair work, as an example. So it is something that we're incurring on a regular basis.
we may want to consider actually doing that ourselves with the proper equipment at some point. If we check into that, I have no idea what that.
What if that's easier?
Boring equipment that's provided by people like Vermeer and some of those.
So, Dan, just to recap, I'm gonna put this here for you guys, so you can pretend he's here. Dan, just to recap, Rick was asking in terms of the bill list regarding our boring costs. Those are costs that we're incurring as part of our underground conversion, so his question, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Rick, his question was how often we're incurring that. It is something that is on a more regular basis due to the conversion process that we're implementing. And Rick's comment was that that's something that we're incurring more, that we may want to look into trying to do more of that in-house. I'm summarizing, Rick, if I may.
That's correct. That's what my question is.
So,
Is we should look into actual cost in doing it ourselves. If there's time for it with the staff. If we have to add people, it's probably not. But we can discuss that later. That was just my question on 55.
Anything further on the accounts payable?
I did have a couple of questions on that.
Okay.
On the item number 33 and 34, on the bond interest payment and the bond interest payment for 2010, 2012,
Yes.
also 2006.
yeah,
Are those, what is the frequency of those payments currently?
Monthly.
Okay.
I mean, when I review the bills each month, there is a payment that goes out monthly.
Yeah, I just wanted to double check it. And then,
Just as a point of clarification, Dan, number 33, Northland Trust Services is actually 2 months of payments at $18,000.
oh, okay. And then on number 67, I just have a question on West Branch construction repair. And maybe I'll cover this later, but did they find the cause of that leak?
yes, yeah, when we dug into to find that, we did find that it was a leak on 2 abandoned services. We removed those and kept them at the main.
Okay, so what's the age of that, of those water lines on that street then?
For the water line or for the service?
Well,
Because it was an abandoned service for a building that's not there anymore, correct, Scott?
Correct.
Do you have any idea of what the age of the service was?
I would guess somewhere between 40 to 60 years old.
Okay, and the water main itself, any idea of when that one was put in down 6?
I have no idea on that one.
Okay.
Pre-Scott?
Way pre-Scott.
Because that's the street where the sewer is, like from the 1800s, right? Correct?
Yeah, that's, at least that's our understanding, yeah.
So is the water, I mean, is the water is newer than that? Or
I believe it, I mean, I believe it's significantly newer than that.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I just don't have an age at the moment.
okay. All right, I was just curious on what the possible spot. That's all I have.
Good. Any other questions, Rick?
No,
I would entertain a motion to accept the accounts payable as listed.
I make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Motion second by Dan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed 3-0. Dan, you're missing out. I got a great new gavel there.
Well, I'm just a little worried about everybody's health right now with the exposure, I mean, going around. And I got 2 employees that their wives work at the Elam Home in Malacca, and with me having a cold right now, you never know. I have the same symptoms that their wives have, so I feel pretty good, but I don't want to risk spreading it.
We appreciate your thoughtfulness. Thanks for thinking of us. Moving to number 6, reports and correspondence. Keith, that's up to you. Go on.
Yes, sir. The SIPA key metrics and meeting minutes are in your packets for you to review. Unless there's any questions on that, I'm going to go move forward to the electric department updates.
Okay.
On the electric department, for the generation plant, we have been helping out our colleagues in both Wells and Mora over the last couple of weeks doing some work on their engines. So I know Jim Beer was helping out. I know Scott Schmidt was helping out. So there's been some work in both of those power plants in which we assisted as a fellow SIPA member. We did run the generators on October 14th and 15th without any incidents. On the distribution system, we're continuing work on our underground conversions. The electric vehicle charger and AMI work is continuing. We're continuing with other system maintenance, repairs, and improvements. On the water department side, the middle water tower has been drained for the winter. Both the fire department and the Minnesota Department of Health have been notified, so everybody is in the loop on that. We did drain down our fire hydrants that need to be pumped down for the winter because they don't have drains. That is about 125 hydrants that we have on the system. And again, the fire department has been notified about that, so that if they use any of those hydrants, they notify us so that we can drain them back down after they're done with it. And that's to prevent freezing as well. The new SCADA system has been installed and is working for the water treatment plants. And we did install the new heater for water treatment plant number 2. So that would be the highlights of what the 2 departments have been working on over the last month.
Good. We're 6D, City of Princeton update.
That's me. Mayor Brad Schumacher. I'm here on behalf of Ms. Gerald, who's out on an appointment, and Mr. Barbian is in another meeting that was previously scheduled for today. And so the update from the City of Princeton is the new light is installed at City Hall, which all the city councilors will look at coming forward. That's the new light next to the.
Sorry, sir, forgive me, I'm a little deaf, but one more time, please.
The new light that was installed at the city hall in our parking lot next to the new cell tower. So the city councilors will be able to see that coming at the next meeting coming up. It'll be evening, be able to generate that light in that new design. And then number two, we're about a month out and we'll have the cell tower online, is what we've said. If you went by City Hall, they're still working on that now. For the cell tower in the parking lot. And then, no other update other than that. We just asked to reserve the spot in case, but I don't think Bob will be able to log in. Will he? Bob Barbian?
He did not request a Zoom login.
Okay, so then, yep, we're all good then, unless you have questions for City Hall.
No, I just wanted to have an opportunity for you to chime in here, so thank you very much for that. And move to General Manager's Report 6E.
Yeah, I'll give you a couple of more details on some of the work that we've been doing. In regards to the AMI conversion, we have converted 42.2% of the electric meters to AMI and 19.1% of the water meters to AMI. For the electric vehicle chargers, the DC fast charger for Coburn's is in process, and we're hoping to have that operational in the next month or so. On the finance side of things, for days of cash on hand as of the end of September, on the electric, we're at 103, and water, we're at 536. Our kilowatt hour consumption, which we've been tracking because of COVID, is down 4.7% since February 1st. With September, we saw quite a difference, but now keep in mind, weather plays a big role in this as well. But we did see a drop in our September consumption of 12.1% for last month. In regards to the CARES funding, the city did include us in the use of the CARES funding that they received. We have submitted paperwork for reimbursement for PPE and other materials related to COVID-19 costs, which we had already incurred. We are currently installing 3 touchless water faucets and adding in ionizing filters in our HVAC system, which are also covered under that funding. And then we did also include a laptop to allow staff to work from home should they be required to quarantine. In regards to the website, I've had a couple of comments, and Dan had brought this up as well. Not everybody realizes that when you get to the main screen that you can scroll down, that there's stuff underneath that. So I'm going to work with our consultant to put something in there so that people know that there's more information to follow, just so that everybody can find everything very easily. There is a copy of the connector in your packets that will be going out in the bills this month. So that's what we're doing on more of our communication with the public. If you recall, Dan had donated some dog waste stations, both to us and to the city. We did install 2 of those on our, right by Water Treatment Plant 1 and 1 over by Water Treatment Plant 2 to try to encourage people to pick up after their pets. I know the park board was going to discuss it. As far as I heard, Jules, it did get approved to put in the dog waste stations at other parks.
Yes, that is correct. We talked about, the park board met Monday with, Dan was there, and offered the stands, the dog waste stands, and was very well received and appreciated. It will be before the city council, and I can't see why it wouldn't be accepted. It's really, really nice on the behalf of Dan to do that. So, very good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. So yes, we did get 2 of them installed by the water treatment plants for that purpose. Those are the highlights, unless there's any questions.
Thank you, Dan.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I hope to start a trend at the different parks with promoting compliance with cleaning up after your pets, so.
Okay, anything else on general? We'll go back into AMI, or if you're ready to go on to ongoing business?
Yes, sir. So for your consideration, we started thinking about as we push further and further into the water AMI conversion. As I've mentioned before, the electric's pretty straightforward. It's faster for us to do because the meters are on the outside of the buildings typically. Water, however, typically is inside the buildings. So that requires us to have access, which requires a higher burden in terms of scheduling and getting people converted over. We're moving forward on that, and everybody's, the staff are working really great towards that end. As we get into the next year and really kind of start hitting this from a more of a production standpoint, is kind of how I'm looking at it. I thought it'd be good to write out what our AMI scheduling process is for the commission to review. And that is memorandum 20-06 in your packets. The idea is to create a process so that we all understand and we can explain to our customers kind of what that process is to try to keep things moving forward, but then be able to address those areas where we will have more difficulty getting involved, getting inside the building with. I have to say the vast majority of customers are very great and are good at calling in and scheduling an appointment. And then as you get near the end, there's always some that just, for whatever reason, seem to be a little bit more difficult to get inside the building. And so it's a 6-step process. The idea is, each quarter, because we're receiving our inventory on a quarterly basis, that each quarter we will identify the next group of meters to be converted. We will send out a separate mailed letter to those customers, asking them to call and schedule a replacement time by a certain date. And then after 2 weeks, if we haven't heard from them to schedule something, we will reach out to them either through a phone call or email, depending upon what we have in our database for them, asking them to schedule a replacement. If we still have not had the customer reach out to us, we will post a door hanger on that residence or business, asking them to call and schedule for a replacement time. If we still haven't heard back from the customer, then we will send out a second letter, mailed out separately, again, separate from the bills, to schedule a replacement time. And at that point, notifying them that if we are unable to schedule a meter replacement, that they will start incurring a meter reading charge. The thought at the moment is $25 per month. This is something that utilities all across the country have done. We did it when we were converting from our manual reads to the AMR system, just trying to encourage people to switch over. And part of the reason we're doing the AMI is to prevent the need for staff to be driving around town getting meter readings. And so if folks don't allow us to convert to an AMR, then we have to send that person out in a utility truck, get the reading. That incurs costs for us separate from how we're providing services to the rest of our consumers. So it's very typical. And then what you typically find is that sometimes is what gets the attention of some folks, and then they'll call in and schedule. The minute we get something scheduled, we would remove that meter reading charge. So the recommendation is this process. If it seems reasonable, we can just approve it now. If it's something that the commission wants to review it and think about, that's fine as well. My intention was that this would be our proposed process for starting in January 1 of 2021. So, we have a couple of meetings before that. But I'm really looking for some input from the commission as to what they think of this approach.
I can't think of anything off the top of my head that would necessitate waiting. The process and the process and the procedures that we've used in the past are really being applied going forward. I think they should be accelerated as quickly as we can. Obviously, this is a long-term. This isn't something we. Oh, sorry. What I said was, well, it was an What I said was, I can't see any reason to delay or pause on this process. The quicker we get these things accomplished, the greater savings is going to be for us and for our customers. So I think it behooves us to move forward as quickly as possible. That means rescheduling AMIs or rescheduling customers, whatever it is. Obviously, it's complicated because people are working and there's issues. And so we may have to be flexible and have Scott working 24 hours per day, but I'm sure he'll flex with that, right, Scott? And so we may have to make some fluctuations in our schedules, but the point of that is we need to get this moving forward, in my opinion. Dan, you're welcome to pipe in on this little tiny speaker that we have in front of us, or Rick, if you have any comments, please say so.
I think it's a great plan, and I agree, let's stay steady on it and get it done. So,
Yeah, I agree. I looked at the process that Mr. Butcher proposed, and I think we should stick with that. And, you know, the winter time is a little bit slower time. I understand for some of our guys, so we can keep pushing forward. That's the direction I'd like to see us go.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Butcher, do we need this in the form of a motion to make this go forward?
Actually, Mr. Chair, I would say no for this reason. As we finish out the year and we start our budget process, part of that also includes an update to our fee schedule. So based off of the input I've received here, what I'm going to include in the fee schedule for next year is the $25 per month meter reading charge when necessary. That, to me, that's really where the approval is needed, but we can handle that when we update the fee schedule for all of our fees in 2021. So as of right now, no, I was just looking for some direction from the commission, and we will formally adopt that additional entry when we do all the rest of the fees for next year.
Okay, well, look forward to it coming up when we discuss budget then.
how much inventory do we have with that product? Where are we at here?
We're pretty much used up, aren't we, Scott?
Yeah, we're down to about 40 nodes at this point.
Yeah.
How many do you do in a month's time on average?
Well,
Tough question.
no, yeah, if I may, some of this is going to come up for the budget process for next year as well. What we had been doing was doing 100 a quarter.
Okay.
And we worked through this year with that kind of schedule in place. What that does mean is if we continue on that path, we won't be done until about 2024. As part of the budget process, one of the things that I will be bringing to the commission for their consideration is upping that to 150 per quarter. I know the water department feels very confident that they can do 150 a quarter, or 50 a month. And so that gives us a lot of flexibility to get people to fit their schedules. As you mentioned, Mr. Chair, we have had guys work on a Wednesday evening to accommodate work schedules, and we're doing everything we can to make this as easy as possible for our customers. And we will continue to do so.
I mean, it's a complicated thing for our customers as well as for our staff, but, you know, if we can compress this timeline a bit, I think it is both in our interest and our customers' interest to get it done as quickly as possible. So,
Yes, sir. By my calculations, if we go from 100 a quarter to 150 a quarter, we can reduce the time to do this conversion by a full year.
That makes sense. 4 years is a long time to have left on that project.
Yes, sir.
okay, thank you. Commission calendar changes.
Actually, sir, I'm sorry, I'm not done with the AMI. That was only part one.
Okay, fine, go ahead.
Part two, I am requesting, and this would require a motion, which feeds right into what the conversation we just had, which is we have 40 nodes on hand to keep moving forward. And our quarterly distribution is the end of each quarter. So our next shipment isn't due until the end of quarter one of 2021. What that means is we're really not gonna be able to do too much because Scott and his guys have been so efficient at getting the replacements done, that we have a little bit of a lull. What I am requesting is an increase in the budget allocation for this year, 2020, for the water AMI conversion in the amount of $40,000. That is to cover approximately $12,000 for 100 more nodes, $17,000 for 150 more registers, and $11,000 for some large water meter, brass, and base replacements that we would need to do. If we could go ahead and increase that budget and direct us to go out and purchase that equipment, we can keep the water staff busy through the winter months until we get our next shipment in at the end of quarter one of 2021.
So this isn't an additional 40, it's just moving it faster.
It's an increase in the 2020 budget, but you're correct. It's money we would be spending on the back end.
Right.
And we're just accelerating that expenditure now to take
Right.
advantage of some time that we have available.
So it's not a new expense, it's,
So our fourth quarter allocation of nodes or whatever they are has already been placed?
Yeah, they already received those. Please correct me if I'm wrong, Scott. We've gotten everything delivered for 2020. And they've worked through all of that, and they have 40 left over out of that batch, which we can go through pretty quick. So we're anticipating, what do we do in January and February before that next shipment comes in.
I hate to think that we would have 3 months in the first quarter of the new year where Scott and all of his guys are standing around with their hands in their pockets. Not that you would, of course, but if we could move this up, I think again, it moves the whole process forward, and I can't see a reason why we wouldn't do this. It just seems to make good sense to me.
I agree, keep that engine running, keep it going. We're not spending additional funds, we're just bringing it forward.
That's it. So it would require a motion, I'll say.
If there's not any more discussion, I would make that motion to make that purchase.
Motion has been made to accelerate the purchase of 100 more nodes.
If we just simply say increase the budget by $40,000, that would cover it.
Okay,
I'll include that number in my motion.
okay. Second,
Yeah, I agree, I'll second that motion.
motion has been made and seconded. All those, if there's any further discussion, I'd be open to that. Otherwise, no further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
All right,
Aye. Motion carried 3-0.
That is all that I have for the AMI section, sir.
Now we can go to my calendar changes.
Yes, sir. Per the conversation at the last meeting, the commission requested a move of meeting dates for November and December. I have confirmed that this room is available, so we are good for that. So it would be to move the November 25th PUC meeting to November 18th, which is just the Wednesday prior, and to move the December 23rd meeting to December 16th, which is just the Wednesday prior to the original schedule. So the room is available should the commission wish to move the meetings.
As we had in our last conversation about this, it makes it difficult with the holidays to try and schedule that. So moving it ahead, as we did last year, made it a lot easier for everybody and gave us the extra time to get things done before the close of the year. Those are also heavy budget months, so we need the time to chew on some of those things. Do we need a motion to change the calendars?
Yes, sir.
I'll make that motion to bring those two dates 1 week earlier to December 16th and November 18th.
Okay, motion's been made.
I'll second.
Dan is seconded. Further discussion, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 3-0, Thank you.
And then the second part of that one as well, I am requesting that we schedule a work session for sometime next month to really kind of go through budget numbers.
Do you have a work session for budget work? Do you have a suggested date?
I do not, it's up to the commission. I mean, if we look at the Wednesday prior to the 18th, that is the 11th, however, it is Veterans Day. I'm not sure what the commission's opinion on having a meeting on Veterans Day, if you'd rather to do something else. I think we can pretty much accommodate most anything. It's up to your schedules.
Dan, what's your schedule look like?
I'm open on Veterans Day if that works for you guys.
It does for me.
It does.
Okay, so we could do a work session on Wednesday, November 11th at 1 p.m. And the agenda would be 2020 budget.
Okay.
Good.
Do we need a motion for that?
Yes, sir.
I'll make a motion that we have a work study for the budget on November 11th, 1 p.m.
Second?
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Carried.
Do we need one in December?
Work session?
Right.
Yeah, that's the commission's prerogative.
I guess we could maybe wait until
To see how
November
far.
to see what's on the plate.
We may, but
Okay, I'm fine.
I will be unavailable the first 12, 13 days of December. Just FYI.
you're okay with the 12/16 for the commission meeting?
Yep, I'll be around for that.
Good.
But I will be unavailable, well, actually, from the 2nd of December until the 13th.
Okay. We'll keep that in mind. We can discuss that more in November, I think. All right, but we've got, right now, we've changed the dates of our regular session by motion here to 11/18 and 12/16, and the work session on the 11th. Okay?
Okay.
7D, Keith, is the EV proposals.
We have, 7C is the wellhead protection plan phase 1.
Oh, I'm sorry. Wellhead protection plan, please.
Okay, so for a little bit of background, as a refresher, we work with the Minnesota Department of Health on a wellhead protection plan. This is an initiative undertaken by the state to do whatever we can as a community to protect our groundwater. That is the groundwater that we use to drink. So obviously we have a lot of interest in maintaining that quality. A wellhead protection plan is typically developed every 10 years. And the last time we did it was 10 years ago. So the Minnesota Department of Health reached out to us to start that process. It is typically a multi-year process. Since we already had a wellhead protection plan in place, which was our first one 10 years ago, it makes this go around more of just an update. We don't have to start from scratch. And we work very closely with the Department of Health to look through what we have for information on our wells, information on potential point sources of pollution that can affect those wells. And there is some mapping that is done, and it's included in the phase 1 in your packets. You'll see what is called the DWSMA, the Drinking Water Supply Management Area and Vulnerability for our area. Since we're doing an update, the Minnesota Department of Health was able to simply take our part 1 and provide some updated numbers to it, which Scott has reviewed and has verified that they are correct. And so the next step is for this commission to adopt this part one. Once that is complete, part two then involves us hiring a contractor. And Scott knows this process way better than I do because he was here when they went through the first wellhead protection plan. So we will be budgeting next year for some work to update part two as well. However, for today, all we're looking at doing is having the commission approve this report that Minnesota Department of Health put together on our behalf, and so that we can say that we have completed part one of our wellhead protection plan for this year. And I do have Scott here in case anyone has any questions about the wellhead protection plan.
Scott, is there anything out of bounds on these numbers at all, or near an edge?
No, everything was kind of right where it should be for the Wisma part of it. The first part of it is the easy part of it. The second part coming is the more complicated one. That's where they're kind enough to hand out a list of wells that we need to try to find, some potential hazards out there that we need to find.
And in my understanding, this is done every 10 years?
Yes, that is the schedule.
Checked by anybody in between that time period?
Uh,
And as far as the quality?
We do have a series of actions that we take between the plans. Some of it is public education, so people understand the importance of protecting our groundwater. Some of it, as Scott alluded to, is identifying, in some cases, capping private wells, whether it's on a residential or on a business, to try to prevent those entry points into the groundwater system. And as well as trying to identify any other potential areas that may end up affecting groundwater supplies. So we do report that as part of our reporting to the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources as well, in terms of the activities that we have taken under our wellhead protection plan.
I guess what comes to mind, it's groundwater. The Westling problem that we had.
Yep.
You know, when they have, I don't know how many wells all over.
Multiple,
Yeah, and it concerns me because I'm on my own well, of course. But I know there's other people in Princeton that have their own wells too, and maybe quite old. I don't know where those wells are in comparison to that zone, because I know it reached the river, right?
yeah. Them wells are within our Wisma.
Okay,
I had worked with Lynn from Mille Lacs County.
all right,
We were trying to get them sealed. Up until last year was the final year that they were gonna sample anything out of them test wells. So as of last year, they can be sealed, and we had a joint workings going on with public utilities in Mille Lacs County that with them, we would do a joint venture and get them sealed. We would pay half, they would pay half.
okay.
MPCA come back and said absolutely not. It was our money to put them in, it will be our money to seal them off. But I know Lynn from Mille Lacs County is still working with them to try to get that done.
Why would they be against it? Just because we paid for it in the first place? Why wouldn't they?
I don't know, it's their rules that we gotta work by.
Okay. So there's no consideration or concern for this plume that's filtered itself out, is what I'm hearing?
That is to my understanding. I have not seen any of the water quality test results from them, but I know our municipal wells get tested every year, and we're in good standings. We're right where we should be.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Scott, I don't know if you've had a chance to look at these maps that that Keith's put in here, but there's a geographical map, boundaries by streets and blah, blah, blah. And then there's a red ring which surrounds some wellheads, I believe. And then there's the blue line, which I assume is where we have flow moving through our well area.
It's the 10-year time travel.
So for example, if I look at the top one, there's this long, kind of pointy blue area. Have we or the county or somebody identified open wells in inside these blue areas? Or are we trying to identify in the pink and yellow boxes? Or where is our point of focus, I guess is what I'm asking.
Inside of the blue is where they've had us in previous years go back and look for wells. Inside of that blue. I would assume that they're gonna have another list for us again. That I don't know for sure. I won't know that till we get into phase 2 of the wellhead protection.
Well, it's a concern, because, I've lived in a number of places, and some of those places weren't as careful about their water as we are here in Minnesota. And I also remember back in the day when I could go down to Duffy's by a sand point and pound a well just about anywhere it wanted. Those days are obviously gone.
Yeah.
But I don't know how many more left over. There's inch and a half pipe stuck in the ground. Thither and yon, I guess. Hopefully we were able to identify those plume areas so that we at least know that those directly influence our wells or taken care of. Hopefully the county and the state can help identify those.
In phase 2 of this wellhead protection plan, these maps will get bigger and they'll get laminated. And Sherburne County and Mille County both get a copy of that. We've been contacted by Sherburne County before about something that was looking at going in within our wellhead.
Yeah.
And ask our thoughts on it.
Yeah.
So the counties work with us pretty well.
Cool. Good job. Well, I think we ought to move forward and get this done again as quickly as possible. There's no reason to forestall this.
So what I'm looking for is a motion to accept the part 1 report of our wellhead protection plan. And then I can let the Department of Health know that the commission has approved this phase.
Can I make that motion?
I'll second that.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion is carried. Okay, forgive me for jumping over that, Keith, but now we can talk about ED fee schedules.
Yeah, I wanted to bring this up. We're getting close to getting the DC fast charger installed at Coburn's. As you may recall, Zeph is a contractor that is working with us and SIMPA to install these units. There was a significant cost, both to SIMPA and us, to put those in, and it is very typical to have a fee associated with the usage of those units. Zeph recommended a $5 per connection fee with a 30-cent per minute after that. And my thought was that we would start with Zeph's recommendation. I have no data that says that we should do anything different than that. That is pretty much standard across the SIMPA membership. And so what I'm asking the commission is, does the commission want to have a fee structure associated with the usage of the DC fast charger that we're installing this fall? So I'm just looking for some guidance from the commission as to what folks' thoughts are.
I'm not familiar with what fair charges are, or how fast it works, or how slow it is, or I know there's a fast charger and then the standard.
Correct. So for the DC fast charger, what is required is, it runs off like a 480. It's not, it requires us to put in a little mini sub because you're hitting the battery with a lot of power quickly, and that's why it's fast. And so typically, I would say a charge is probably on the order of, if you're really low, 20, 30 minutes. Like I said, this is Zeph's recommendation. This is the fee structure that they have implemented in other areas. I know it's what the other SIMPA members are doing. you typically have a connection fee, and then you charge for however much they want. So if they're there for 10 minutes, you charge them $3. If they're there for 20, you charge them 6. And part of the reason for charging it too is, people don't use it as a parking spot. It is meant to be used as a charger, and have people move on so that the next person can come in and use it as well. So it is, that fee structure to me is typical. I haven't seen stuff much, really outside of that norm. It has been a connection fee with a per minute charge as well.
2 questions on that.
Yes, sir.
Is there going to be any language in these spots that says you cannot park here unless you're using the system?
Yes, we are painting it. There are signs up there saying that this is for EV charging. We've been working with Coburn very closely on that. We have put bollards in place to prevent the charger from getting hit accidentally. Our logo is on that charger so that people know if there's a problem, they can call us and we'll take care of it. So yes, it is being clearly marked.
So if somebody does park there, are the cops called then, or will they be called, or what's the action, what's the next step?
At that point, we are putting it at Coburn's, so, it is a private lot. That's why we worked on having a host agreement signed with them. That would really be their call at that point. We have said that, our intention is for this to be used, but no, I don't envision I don't envision that this is going to be patrolled. I think in practice, really what happened is, if Coburn's noticed somebody's just parking there and somebody came in and complained because they weren't able to use it.
Right. I'm looking at like a handicap spot, you're not supposed to park there either.
As far as I understand it, there's no legal enforcement because it is a private lot. If we were on a public space, that would then come down to what the city wants to do and if they want to put an ordinance in place and some things like that. I had about a year ago shared some ordinance information with the city administrator, Bob Barbian, just so he's aware of what other communities have done. I haven't heard, I don't know if that had gone anywhere, but I have shared some of that information over time. But until there's until we would end up putting something in a public spot, it's not something that I really pursued. I was focusing more on the
Sure.
host agreement.
And this is just a question.
Yeah.
What do we do with that situation?
Yeah.
The purposes and the convenience for that person that owns or has that kind of car. And if they can't use it, then.
Right. The nice thing is Coburn's was very happy to work with us. They saw the value in having it there. It puts them on the charge point map, which is one of the services that EV unit owners use to identify where they can charge up. It'll be in Coburn's interest to make sure that people aren't camped out,
Right.
so to speak. Because they see value in using it as well. So I think it's going to be a really good partnership. But no, there is no official control or anything like that.
My second question is, with the fees and things that we're talking about, or charging
Yes.
for that service, I have to assume we're certainly covering our costs with that.
It's all going to be dependent upon the usage. And that's where, like I said, I don't have a good feel for what kind of participation to see. I have been contacted by at least one, I think 2, individuals who had heard about what we were doing and wanted a timeline because they want to start using it. So that to me is encouraging. You're right, it's something that I think we need to pay very close attention to because we do have to pay credit card fees. We do have to pay a certain cellular connection to be able to charge fees and collect those funds. At some point, you're right, if you're not covering those costs, you might as well give it away for free until your load does get up high enough to where it makes sense. We did go ahead and put a separate meter on that so that if we don't charge for it and therefore get the tracking out of that, we can still track it on our own and say, all right, it's not being used and we're okay for another 6 months. One of the approaches that folks have done across the state, across the country is you give a grace period. You know, you put something in, you say for 6 months, we're not gonna charge anything. Let's just see what the performance is. As EVs become more and more popular, I'm seeing kind of those grace periods kind of, you know, not be as important because there's quite a following on it. But, you know, it's whatever, you know, we can do it either way. It's whatever the.
Well, I didn't know if it was being looked at as a public service intention, or to make money, or to cover our costs, or what's the, you know, if
Yeah,
go to Princeton because they have, you know, free electric, and they're gonna come to Princeton.
Yeah, yeah, I think, you know, this is the first DC fast charger in this area. There's one down in Elk River. So I think it is a bit of a demo project. But I also think there is value in sending a price signal to let people know that it's worth something. I don't believe that we're gonna recover our costs anytime soon on this, but what we're doing is we're helping to create the infrastructure, because ultimately, as people get more and more chargers, they're gonna put chargers in their home. And that's what our customers are gonna be doing. And so it is something that I think we're gonna see on our system more and more over time. What we're doing is we're trying to help people get used to that, right?
Sure.
So it's a combination, you know, it is a you know, a public service, like you said, but to have them contribute some nominal amount might make sense as well.
Keith, I have a question.
Yes.
I have two questions actually. The first one is, what is the cost on the installation of that?
SIMPA paid for the charger. A DC fast charger is probably on the order of, I'm guessing here, I would say $20,000 to $35,000. For us to put in the mini sub, we paid for those from SIMPA. I want to say those are on the order of 9 to 12, I think. Plus we had some boring, because we had to come in off of the transformer there, you know, put in a cement pad, put in the bollards, do some painting and the signs and some things like that. So we're probably spending on the order of 12 to 15 to put it in on our end, and then SIMPA contributed on their end. And then the agreement is a 5-year maintenance agreement, so the contractor's taking care of all that as part of the purchase cost. And then probably in about year 4 or year 5, we'll probably take over the equipment at that point, and then we'll have to decide what we want to do then.
So the cost of the Princeton public utility is about 12 to 15,000?
Yeah, if I'm remembering correctly, that's about, and that's all because of the mini sub.
And so at that cost, you know, with the rates that we're looking at, what would the return, how many charges before we would get her?
Yeah, it would be a lot. I really don't know. I don't see it as a profit-making enterprise. It is our first one. I think as more and more as EVs grow in popularity and we get more and more in the system, then things will start to make more sense. But it's really
what would the life expectancy be on there? Do they know yet?
You know, the host agreement that we signed with Coburn's, I want to say it was 10 years. And I gotta believe that equipment, that's gonna last a long time. I mean, it's like a big extension cord. It's really all it is.
So it potentially could last 40, 50 years, or?
Yeah. It could be there a long time. The nice thing too is the footprints on those are pretty standard as well. So even if the charger became obsolete, we've got the infrastructure in there to replace it with something, you know, faster and greater down the road.
And I guess that was all my first question. My second question is this the same type of charging station that we were talking with the new facility at the golf course about?
No, it's not. So what we put it at Coburn's, and the reason we put it at Coburn's is because they have three-phase power on the backside of the building there. So this is a DC fast charger, and that means that if somebody plugged in, they could charge their car completely in about 20 to 30 minutes. The other chargers that we're looking at are level 2s, which is a 240 volt charger. Charge times on those are more along the lines of 6 to 8 hours, if you were looking at almost a full charge. And the L2s would be priced completely differently than what a DC fast charger is, because it doesn't require the same amount of infrastructure in place to hit those batteries as fast as you can.
Is
So they
that
are
something
different.
that SIPA also has a program for, or?
Yes, we have 2 level 2 chargers here that we're still looking for places for. COVID kind of delayed a lot of things. We were in conversations to put those in 2 different locations, which have been pretty much put on hold. It's something after we get the DC fast charger in, get some experience with the billing, that we're going to look at trying to install sometime next year.
Yeah, I guess that would make sense if people were gonna come golf for, 3-4 hours or something that.
Yeah, and especially if you have a brew pub right there, that's a good draw for out-of-towners. There's a lot of people in the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, that have electric vehicles, and if they know they can get up here and charge and plug in and get enough to get back home, then it makes it more attractive for the community to bring business in. So
Yeah,
that was the thought, yeah.
that's all I have.
Somebody does, the city has, a charger in town already.
Yes, sir.
That's an L2?
Yes.
And do we know what kind of usage that has gotten over the last, some period of time?
Yeah, they do not charge for the L2, which is a little bit more typical. Typically, when you see chargers, it is on fees, it is on the DC fast charger. I don't want to keep saying charge, we don't confuse people. So the city does not implement a fee on that L2. As far as the electricity consumption, I think it's kind of nominal, but it's also pretty flat. I think it's been kind of steady. I'd have to pull the numbers. I don't know off the top of my head.
So fast charger is a whole different kettle of fish, but a guy can come in and plug in. Do we know what Elk River has there they have a city parking lot? The only reason I know about it is they have a farmer's market there, and there's a couple slots that are segregated for electric vehicles.
I do not know which ones those are specifically. I do know that Elk River has both types, but as for that location, I don't know.
Be interesting to get some information, see what our neighbors are doing.
Yeah.
Check that out. What do you need from us in terms of just the
Much like the water AMI procedure proposal, this is a fee structure that we can address as part of our fee schedule for 2021. I assume just address all of that at once. What I was looking for though primarily was direction. Is a connection fee and a usage fee something that the commission is interested in implementing? Are you interested in a grace period? I don't have any projections for usage because I just don't know. So I'm kind of looking for some input as to what the commission would like to.
When do you expect the fast charger to be up and running?
We're hoping in a few weeks.
Okay.
So if we wouldn't start implementing a fee right away, then we would need a motion now. If we wanted to get a grace period until January 1, we could do that too, and talk about it that time.
I think it should be somewhat consistent. I mean, if we're seeing consistency throughout, wherever people travel, even in Minnesota. So I don't think it's going to hurt us too badly to find out some basic numbers and maybe institute
Well,
that.
it is my understanding that the rest of the SIPA membership is following along with the ZAP recommendation of $5 per connection and 30 cents per minute. But I can survey them if that would help.
Well, if that's what the standard is, then I don't think we have to do a whole lot more.
Okay.
If that's what,
If our SIPA brothers and sisters are going with that program, then I think it behooves us to follow suit. And I think we should have that in place so that people know what to expect. They come into Coburn's and they have a Tesla or whatever they have. Forgive me, sensitive to hearing as I am, you think I remember that. I think it behooves us to have our program in place immediately and not do one thing and then switch and then maybe have to rethink. I sincerely believe that there are going to be more vehicles, electric vehicles on the road. COVID has kind of put a kink in some of that. People are driving in general less to get rebates on your insurance because people just aren't out there. But I think for the long-term benefit of this community, it's important to have those things available. We're not just a little ag town out on the plains in the opposite. We're almost a suburban community, and we need to have these things available for our customers as well as people that come to visit our customers. So I think it's important that we get the plan in place, work the plan the work, let's go get it done. You know, we've got the horsepower out there already. We know how to do these things. Ready, set, go, as far as I'm concerned.
like $5 hookup charge at 30 cents for, you're at $14 and your tank is full, if you will.
Exactly.
So it's pretty minor. I don't know how far you can drive on that, but,
Yeah, depending upon the car, it could be anywhere from, well, I mean, I have a dual fuel one, so I have both electric and gas in mine. So my battery is a range of about 45 to 50 miles. When I had a Nissan Leaf, the range was about 110, 120. Some of the newer ones, you're seeing ranges close to 300.
wow.
So, I mean, and then, I don't know if you saw the new Chevy, the new Hummer, the electric one. I believe that has a huge battery. You can do that one in 30 minutes. So there's a lot of variety coming out, but you're looking at, a few hundred miles, I would say.
At $100,000, I don't think $14 is going to make a big difference.
No, not for that car.
Mr. Chairman, was that a form of a motion that you just stated?
Yes, of course. Yes.
I will second that.
Okay, Dan, we just made a motion and had it seconded to move forward with the fee schedule on the EV fast charger. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I have one question first.
Sure, go ahead.
So, when you mentioned, Keith, about a zero fee for a period, is that more of a promotion?
Yes.
Thing just to kind of bring awareness to the charging station?
Yes, that is typically why that's done.
I mean, is that hard to put the fee on there? Like, say, if you did 1 month free or 2 months or whatever it was, is it hard to change that to put the fee on there? Or?
No, my understanding is, God, we can change that at any time. It's more of, giving the customer some price certainty. And typically when you plug in the charge, it will tell you what the fee is. Just like if you go to a gas pump, it'll tell you what the price per gallon is. So we could change that daily if we wanted to. I would like to come up with something a little bit more standard until we get some data. But
I guess I would. I don't know what the other commissioners say, but I wouldn't mind maybe looking at that 1 month promotional period just to help get the word out that we have one available.
Yeah, that would be my question. If you're going to have a promotional time period, how do you get that word out that for this next month that it's going to be free when we don't know who our customer is?
Yeah, that's true. I don't know, is there websites out there, Keith, that,
There are, and I'm trying to remember. You're talking about a group of people that are very well connected over
I
the
thought, did
internet.
you say on some of the cars they find these, but then I don't know how fast ours would show up on.
As soon as we get the unit commissioned, I will log it into the mapping applications, and we should pop up really fast.
Yeah.
And to give you an example, this is ChargePoint. So there's a code underneath it, so I have an account with ChargePoint. So if I go somewhere, I can do a reader, and it ties into my account, and it says, here's your charge, and here's what your fee's gonna be, and you say, yep, go ahead, and I start it, and it gets charged up. I can't remember if in the maps, it tells you what the fees are there. You might have to wait till you get to the site to find out. I'm just not sure at the moment. But everything, like with my Leaf, when I had it in the display, you could push a button and it would pull up all the electric car chargers within a 10-mile radius of where you were at.
There are mapping apps for this application.
Yeah.
Not only, I've known this for a variety of reasons, but there are some apps out there right now that run on both Android and iPhones that map every possible, you lay out a route and it'll give you every possible charge along any given route. So those things are out there. And I assume that once we light up, we can submit that to those search engines and they'll pick that right up. There's SEO people that do that kind of thing for a living.
And all the electric vehicles out there have it as part of their navigation displays now, because they know that's what people need to know in order to go.
Well, I guess if there's no way of displaying a promotion on those, then I would say it probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense to do a promotion if we can't. Be really difficult to get that word out there to a small group of people.
Yeah, that's my concern. I thought, it'd be interesting to do that, but from a practical stance, I'm not sure how we get to that population. The other thing we might be able to do, once the pricing's in place and everything's working, it might be such a thing as Coburn's would be interested in sponsoring some kind of a promotion or working with us, and we can do some things promotion-wise down the line, but I think having the pricing in place and so there's no confusion about what the price is good for us. And then if we want to run a promotion, you run it.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. So, yeah, that's all I had.
If I may, one other piece of information that you may find helpful. The DC fast chargers, the benefit to them is the speed. It's like pulling into a gas pump, basically. What you're gonna find is most of the people who are gonna use this are passing through. People who live in town are probably not gonna plug in to this. So we're not dealing, for the most part, I would expect the participants to not be our customers. So what we're trying to.
PUC customers.
Correct. So I don't know if that makes a difference, but if what we're trying to do is kind of get that tourism traffic, the people passing through, that's where I'm comfortable with a fee structure. I think it brings attention to the community, which is good. And it has gets people interacting. That's fun.
I thought that was kind of the whole point, to get, we participate in this community. Here's what we help provide. People that stop here have an opportunity to charge up while they're having a Dairy Queen or do a little grocery shopping. They can do it because it's here and we're available. There's an awful lot of traffic that goes past our exits every Friday and Sunday, and if somebody wants to charge up for a little bit before they finally get to the lake, more power to them.
Yes.
Stop and get a cheeseburger on your way, and this works. And this is a plus. It's a plus for us. It's a plus for the community. So I think it's all good. Having the price structure in place is important. if we need to do or would like to do some kind of a promotion for Coburn's customers or something, we can certainly work those details out, but I think the price structure needs to be in place, and it needs to make sense for us now and for some period of time in the future, so that we're not wondering what the heck happened with our fast chargers.
Yes, sir.
So the motion has been made and seconded to put that fee structure in place for our EV fast chargers. Is there any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed 3-0. Move on to new business number 8A. You want to go over this insurance overview?
Yeah, so we have invited Jim Burrows to come in and talk with the commission. At a prior meeting, you know, we had a tort liability form that needed to be signed. There was a question raised. I'm not an insurance guy, so I wasn't very effective in answering those questions, so I thought bringing Jim in would be great. He can go through kind of what his proposal and stuff and answer any questions that the commission may have.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, thank you for having me. I'll start with that form. So basically,
And you can, Jim, if you can take your mask off, just so we can all hear.
yeah, exactly. The tort liability waiver form. I know it seems it's almost like a double negative, but in Minnesota, there's a statute where somebody, if they want to bring suit against the municipality or utility, there's a limit. Basically a limit they can sue for. You have the right to waive that if you want to allow them to sue you for a higher amount. So, by not waiving it, then basically you're adhering to the statutory limit and not allowing you to sue for more than what is statutory limits. That's what that is. So, so now back to the proposal. What we did is I kind of put together just kind of a brief overview of everything we have. So let's kind of go through this. The bulk of the insurance is insured by the League of Minnesota City Insurance Trust. There is the equipment breakdown portion that's insured by Travelers, and that's through SEPA. So that's basically a separate policy. Agency out of Rochester administers that, and then we just kind of deliver it on their behalf. That's kind of how that works. So you can kind of tell right away if you go to like the commercial property section. This is really the property that we insure here. You can see we have a total limit. If you add all that up, $43,878,000. And how they come to that value is every 7 years the league comes out and does an appraisal. So not this next year, but the following year they'll come out again, and we'll go through the whole process of doing our appraisal. And Keith and I will do that. Connie and I have done that in the past, and we just work with them, and that's how we come up with that limit. So, and then you can kind of see individually how that breaks down. And that's how we come up with the property limit. We ran out currently of a $5,000 deductible. And then you can kind of see right below that where we have all that listed. You can see where the Travelers, whatever machinery policy, that's one through SEPA. Basically, that just reflects our current limit. So as that changes, that's what the policy limit on the equipment breakdown changes as well. So that's kind of how we set up for property. You can see the building limits and then contents. Obviously, the power plant, that's where the bulk of the property is inside there. So that's how our commercial property sets down. I don't think we can go through questions at the end here too. The next page is our commercial general liability. You can kind of see we have a $2 million per occurrence limit, and then a $3 million aggregate, and there's separate aggregates for those. And I'll kind of go through this too. Really the products, you don't really have any products. The failure to supply claim limit, that $3 million, is just what it says. It's going to be a failure to supply water, electricity, gas, steam, or electronic data. So if for some reason you were at fault and didn't provide that, and somebody brought a suit against us, that was protected against. Our EMF claim limit, that's going to be electromagnetic fields, radiation, or stray voltage. So the suit came about that, that's where the liability would come for that. Land use is not really applicable in your situation. It's more of a municipality or a city kind of coverage there. So, but that's all inclusive there. How they come up with the premium for liability is based off expenditures and then the number of employees. So that's how they come up with the rate for that. So, we can go to the next page, I guess, here. This is going to be our bond, crime, petro fund. Really, the big thing here is the crime. This will be theft and disappearance of money and securities. And then the data breach. The league includes $250,000 for data breach, and that's really one of the biggest exposures that we're seeing in insurance now is all the computer hacking and getting information of your customers and holding your system hijack and things like that. So we did bump that up last year, up to 500,000. So we do have that coverage there too, which again, like I said, is, your product could be a very big target. We have a lot of information and a lot of things. So, well, that's our commercial inland marine. This is unique to the League of Minnesota Cities. They basically, a couple years ago, instead of having a list of every skid loader and every lawnmower and all this different stuff that we used to have, just list of all this stuff, they basically said any piece of mobile property valued at $250,000 or less is going to be insured. We don't need a list. It doesn't matter if you told me about one or if you didn't or whatever. That's just how they came up with it. So, and they don't charge a lot for it. Really neat kind of deal they have there. So again, that's pretty unique to them. So that's how our inland marine kind of sets down. Next is going to be our commercial auto. You can kind of see our limited liability there. We have $2 million. As you look below, you can see our vehicle list. We have 19 different vehicles and trailers. Some of them, when you look at some of the larger trucks, you can see we have a replacement cost on those. So that's unique too to the league. Every other commercial auto policy, you basically have actual cash value. It depreciates over time, things like that. So if you have $120,000, the digger truck with replacement cost, if it gets totaled off, they'll go buy you a new one regardless of the cost. If now it's $160,000, they incur that. There's not depreciation there. They only do that on certain types of vehicles, as you can see we have the 10X out there. But yeah, so that's kind of how the commercial auto kind of shapes out there. The next page is our workers' compensation. A couple years ago, we went to a deductible on the workers' compensation, basically saved some premium doing that. Experience mod is phenomenal. I mean, basically you're at a 0.76. That means you're getting a 24% credit just because you haven't had any claims. So that's phenomenal. And you can see, obviously, that's based off of payroll. So then you can see the classes of payroll we have, and then what the exposure is. And every year we do an audit, so whether it goes up or down, or if we move, Keith and I meet each year to go over this, we know we hired some more people, we always adjust this, each year as well too. So this is currently reflecting what the policy has on it right now, on the work comp. Next page is our umbrella. This goes above and beyond everything we have, whether it's your general liability, your auto liability, or coverage where you don't have any underlying liability. This is where our umbrella is. We have $1 million umbrella at this time. And really the auto portion is where that's really, I guess, kind of the one there. So, that's our umbrella. And then the last page is kind of a premium summary. You can kind of just see, kind of go down, and you can get an idea what the property costs to insure, your general liability, the commercial auto, your work comp, and really you can see the driver is the equipment breakdown. That's the traveler's policy through SEPA. But yeah, so that's kind of a quick summary of kind of what we have going on here with the insurance, I guess, and how that plays out. If you have any specific questions or any ideas or.
Jim,
I
thank you for.
have some.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
So what is our renewal date?
I'm sorry, what's that?
Renewal.
What is our renewal date?
The renewal date is January 1st, isn't it? Look, I got it right here. Yeah, January 1st. January 1st. I don't think January.
And then does your agency send this out for several quotes?
With this type of business, no. There's really, when you look at you take example the auto premium, if you were to do that like on a commercial auto policy without the replacement cost, you'd be looking at 10 times the amount. I mean, there's really no other carriers that are gonna supply the kind of coverage that the league does and the specific, and just how specialty it is with the premium. No different than cities or any other municipalities. It's a trust. At the end of the year, if there's a dividend payment return, we could probably go for bid, but I would anticipate 5 or 6 times, and then probably not as great coverage as well.
So it's lead.
So there's not very many carriers?
There really isn't, yeah. I mean, there's, Continental Western Group used to have a plan, but they don't have it either. A regular commercial general liability, this is just, there's a lot of specific things that are really underwritten and just written on their own paper, not necessarily ISO form like a regular commercial general liability. So it's pretty unique. Not a lot of people do it. It's, I can't think of any other carrier in Minnesota that actually writes any other municipality, but they're not self-insured. That would be the next step usually.
So this part of this insurance program, the vehicle schedule is brought to us through the fine folks at the League of Municipalities, is that?
Correct. Yeah, the only portion of this that's not through the league.
$143 amount.
I'm sorry, what's that?
Is the vehicles are breakdown was $73,943.
No. The vehicles are $3,000 a year for all the vehicles. The equipment breakdown, that's basically the policy that's written with that, that's administered by SEPA. That is, the power generation units they break down, there's arcing, things like that. That's gonna be the equipment breakdown. That's a separate policy. Like I said, that's written out of an agency out of Rochester. That's the $73,943.
Okay.
I'm sorry if that didn't make sense.
I get that.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Yes, I have one. Jim,
Sure,
thank
yeah.
you for coming.
Absolutely.
As we look at this, and I think where we stalled last time, is I brought up the question of the umbrella itself, and I see that it is on here. At a cost of $2,825. Where are we exposed here if we look at this whole thing? And part two of that is, I know that if you have an umbrella, there's that cost. So if it's $200 for me to have an umbrella, not this utility,
Right.
I could get a second or third million for maybe half of that.
Sure.
Okay. Are we exposed because we are a utility, not just a single person? Because I have $1 million coverage and now this has $1 million.
Sure.
Should it not be more because of what the entity is?
Sure. Let me answer your first question. Your exposure is the auto portion. That's the only part that's not going to be covered by state statute. So, since they can't sue you above and beyond that, as far as the general liability, they're not going to be able to sue you for more than the $500,000 per occurrence. Okay, so that's where the umbrella, you don't even worry about that as far as the general liability. It's going to be the auto portion. We go out, we get in an accident, we have $2 million underlying on the auto, and then the $1 million umbrella on top of that. Is $3 million enough? I mean, we had somebody that literally, they're sued for $20 million, they settled for the $3 million with the umbrella and with the Hefner umbrella underlying. So I mean, how much is enough? I can tell you the time of claim. That being said, again, your next layer of liability is not going to be as much as your first layer. As you stack it, the second million might be half as much, third million, a third as much. Because those exposures are there to get into that next layer of level of cost. So you're not going to have to worry about that. Yeah, so it would help.
That might be a question that I would still have is what is enough? You can go broke by insurance.
And I think that's the point too. There is that number, and I'd be happy to quote whatever limit you want me to check.
Yeah, and I don't know what that number should be. It just with everything that's going on here, and I personally have $1 million umbrella, and I see $1 million here. The utility has a lot more exposure than I do.
Absolutely. Yeah, we have $2 million underlying too, so total we'd have $3 million in an accident. So yeah, again, I mean.
But if
we can all think of
it's
a scenario.
$50 to get another $1 million,
Absolutely.
that's
I think
what
I'll
I'm looking for.
go all the way up to $10 million. I'll just get some quotes for you guys so you can see.
But there are statutory limitations on what somebody could sue us for. So
Correct.
where in the case of an individual, probably not that statutory limitation. Did we waive the statutory limitation?
You did not.
I suggest we don't. But, we're protected to a certain extent where you as an individual.
What is that limit? Do you remember, Greg?
I don't.
For the statutory limit, it's $500,000.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, if that's the max, then.
Yeah. So as long as we don't waive that, then we're in a position where they can sue us, but they can get $500,000. And having $1 million or $1.5 to 3 million, whatever, we've got these multiple coverages out here, I think we're probably okay.
Yeah. With that information, I agree.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything further for Mr. Burrows?
I just have, just out of curiosity, what, did we have any losses in the last, 2 years or so?
As far as, we've had a couple claims. The one was an equipment breakdown claim, which actually was excluded, so actually there was nothing paid out on that.
Yeah, do you remember last year when we had the catalyst in number 7 got ruined because of a radiator leak? I did try to, we worked together to try to put a claim together on that, but the catalysts were an excluded.
It's actually like one of 3 things that are excluded.
Yeah.
In that
Yeah,
trial,
it was-
boiler machinery policy.
Yeah, it was really buried down in the fine print, so we tried on that one.
Yeah,
I don't,
yeah, I think that's.
That's the only one I know of.
Yeah, like I said, the work comp has been phenomenal, that's usually where we see a lot of the claims. So obviously the employers are doing a fantastic job there, you know.
All good?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
and as a whole, and I'll talk about the dividend a little bit too through the league. It's really gone down the last 4 years. I mean, we used to return $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 checks. They're down to thousands or hundreds the last couple of years just from what the experience has been between storms and other things outside everybody's control. So, you know, like I said, as far as working with a carrier, I mean, the league is they're just phenomenal. I mean, they look for coverage, they don't fight you. If you need something written, they'll manuscript it and write it for you. I mean, it is really the insurance carrier to be with when it comes to any municipality or utilities.
Appreciate your
Okay.
taking the time. Thank you, sir.
Yep, that's good.
Thank
That's
you.
good.
Thank you.
Yep.
8B. Mr. Butcher.
yes, sir, it's that time of year again. For as long as I know, we've been doing a Christmas light contest. And so in your packets, I kind of put together what it might look like for this year. And in the past, we did give different prizes for folks. The idea was you needed to be an electric customer of ours to be eligible for the contest. We send out information in our November billing and ask people to return applications by, kind of that first week in December. We do the judging, typically the second week in December. Give $100 for the grand prize, 75 for first runner-up, and 50 for second runner-up. What we did last year was we had the children of staff be the judges. So we really get a child's perspective on it. That worked out really well. And then it's just a way to help promote some Christmas spirit. And the way that I would be looking at doing again for this year would be, again, you got to be an electric customer of Princeton Public Utilities. The award would be issued as a credit on their bill. And then we do our typical, utility staff, city staff, public officials are eligible for prizes because we really want to have it as part of the community. And announce the winner kind of mid-December. I think, the chamber's always been very supportive as well, so sometimes they promote it, I posted on Facebook last year and let people know kind of who were participating in the program so others could go around and look at some Christmas lights. I think it's a great little thing to do for the community, so, I'd like to do it again with the commission's approval.
I'm in the carry-on club on that one. Any objections, Dan?
No, I think it's a great program.
Let's just, I think you can just do that with the director, Mr. Butcher, do it.
Okay, sounds good. It's not a budget impact item. It's
Right.
just, make sure it's okay to continue on with that.
I think it's great to get the kids involved as judges. I mean, that's from their perspective, so.
Yeah, even though our staff's getting a little bit older, we got to.
Well, whatever group of kids.
Yeah, exactly.
Some judges.
So, okay, thank you.
And 8C, Light Up Princeton.
Yes, so this is an idea that came through from the city. Talked with Stephanie Hilsham on this a couple of times. They're looking at putting in a drive-through lighted holiday scenes down at Riverside Park to, help promote some Christmas spirit, increase sense of community, and doing something new to just kind of draw people in and kind of show them what Princeton is about. The initial budget that Stephanie was thinking about was around $14,000. And then the city on Thursday, and Mayor, please correct me if I'm wrong, the city had authorized a $5,000 matching grant towards that effort. So Stephanie and I were talking, and she was wondering if the Public Utilities Commission would also contribute. I also informed her as well that as long as the decorations are LED in terms of the technology, it is eligible for all of our lighting rebates, which she will take advantage of. So we will be giving her rebates for that equipment that meets our specifications. But in addition to that, what I'm looking for is to see if the commission is interested in contributing money to that effort. Now, when I was working through the budget and looking at our numbers, I realized when I put the budget together last fall for this year, I had included $2,500 for Christmas lights. Now that was part of an arrangement between my predecessor and the city, to where this utility was contributing $2,500 a year for the city decorations, many of which we store here throughout the year. I was not aware when I put the budget together that 2019 was the final year of that agreement. So that $2,500 has not been spent.
Shucks.
Yeah, so, it's for Christmas lights. I think this is a great idea. To me, it would make sense to allocate that $2,500 to the city's Light Up Princeton effort. So looking for direction from the commission if that's something that you're interested in doing.
I'll make a motion that we use that money for this project.
I second, I think it's very worthwhile.
I think it's a wonderful idea. It brings people into the downtown area and lights it up. I think it's a great idea. So let's use that. We've got a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Carries.
Mr. Chair, if I may, Brad, could you shed some light on how that might be patrolled for vandalism or, just somebody driving through a display or something?
They were working on that at the staff meeting to figure out that process, because this is new for us this year. And so they're going to, they're still working out how that process is going to work and get it to be functional. It's a brand new idea for the city and the initiative to go there.
Carry on.
Yeah, we don't have the plan, but it's in the process.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I'm sure Stephanie will keep in touch with Mr. Butcher here. All the details will get hammered out, but I think it's a good idea for us to be part of that program. It's a good one, so carry on. 8D, Delta Water Shutoff Service.
Yeah, so this is an idea just for the commission to think about. We had a customer approach us with a request. That customer was leaving for the winter and requested that we shut off his water at the curb stop. It would give them some peace of mind that that their pipes wouldn't freeze while they were off in sunny southern United States. But then they had also said, well, and we might be back home over Christmas, because then we want you to turn it back on, and then when we leave, we want you to turn it back off, and was asking me if that's something that we do. And I couldn't find that we currently have a policy addressing that issue. So as I was looking at it, at least the options that I had thought about was we don't offer the service. Even during the polar vortex of early 2019, I am not aware of any snowbirds whose pipes froze. So, but, if it gives people that could have some value. We could offer the service, free of charge within certain limits. We could offer the service for a fee within certain limits. So to me, the question comes down to a couple of things. One is obviously the scheduling. How much advance notice do we require in order to do that? What is the process? When we turn the water back on, does the homeowner need to be present or not? What about issues of liability? What if the curb stop breaks? What if something inside the house breaks when the water is turned back on? Do we limit the service to, anytime somebody asks, or do we just do it, say, okay, we're doing it once a year and that's about it? If we do it, do we charge a fee? If so, how much? Would it be a turn-off fee? Would it be a turn-on fee? Would it be both? Would the customer still be responsible for their fixed customer charges during that time? Even though the water's turned off, they're still part of the system and they're still an active customer. And if we did all of that even, how would that impact the city sewer collections? We would want to talk with the city and make sure that they understand kind of what we're looking at and see if that makes any issues from them. And then to me, the big question then is participation. How many people do we think would really utilize the service? Is it a handful? Is it more than that? How many snowbirds are really interested in? Part of that's probably dependent upon price. If we did it for free, obviously you would think you'd have more participation, or if you charged a $50 service fee, it might have less. For people who want peace of mind, I would think that they'd be willing to pay for that. And then, like I said, it comes down to risk. Even during the polar vortex, we weren't aware of anybody whose service lines froze for snowbirds. So I'm not sure, on the liability side, how much of a downside there is. Obviously, lots of questions, and probably way too many to answer for this year, considering where we're at. I guess what I'm looking for is that this was a customer request. Does the commission want to pursue that as an option for next winter, as an optional service? I merely wanted to start the conversation and just see what direction the commission has for something like this. It's one of those things where, we are a small utility, gives us a lot of flexibility. We're very nimble, but you want to set up programs that really only a handful of people are going to participate in each year. I mean, I can go either way on it, and that's why I'm looking for some input, some direction.
My initial thoughts is it could really open up a can of worms. If you had to go and turn it off and then turn it on even twice, for Mr. and Mrs. Jones, because they come back at Christmas and then they leave again or whatever. What if you have 50 customers that do that? Mm-hmm. And now they're coming back for Thanksgiving, leaving, coming back for Christmas, and it could really, you could almost possibly have somebody very busy just doing these things because everyone's life is so different, right? Well, is it a comfortable service? Sure. To offer that, the customer would definitely have to be there when it was turned on, because if something happened to the pipes or something, and I'm referring to the incident that I had with the electric that I shared with you. You turn the electric on and there's a pan of grease on the stove and the burner's on and nobody's home, you have a fire. Now, if no one's home and something did go awry when the pressure's back there and now the whole house is flooded, boy, I wouldn't be real comfortable. But if we did do that, I would charge, connect fee and reconnect fee kind of thing, turn on, turn off. Mm-hmm. But you may find yourself with several pages of legal.
It's interesting that you put it quite that way. My initial reaction was, sure, why not? And then I started thinking about it, and I was like, oh, this could be complicated, and of First of all, this is the first guy that's brought it up, and we have more than one snowbird in this community. There's lots of people, good friends that leave this weekend for Arizona, okay? And what they do is they turn down everything to the minimum temperatures, so they're not using very much gas or oil or whatever it is you're eating, and they get through the winter like that. But if somebody, and I think about this because I'm a camper, I winterize my camper. Well, maybe somebody wants to winterize their house, pour a little RV in here, shut the furnace down to zero, and now if the curb shut off is done, they don't have to worry about their pipes. They're good, they have no gas, no electricity, and they're doing it as cheap as they can. Okay, I get it, but then there's the liability issues that come up with, okay, we're gonna turn this back on, but you know, your feeder lights might be frozen now, and what have you done to protect from the curb stop to the house? You know, are all those things covered? It gets to be more complicated than it really appears on the surface. In addition to which, we base, I think, pay attention here, Mr. Mayor. The sewer charges are based on the water usage over the winter months, I
Yes,
believe.
only been
So now, from November 1st until March 31st or some date, you have no usage. What do you tell the city? This guy doesn't use any sewer. But then he comes back on April 1st and he's got all kinds of water going, and how do they know how to charge that? And so it becomes, even though on the surface of it, I said, yeah, this is a nice service, you know, we charge them $25 for a service call or $50 for a service call, whatever, we make something up. And we have a service call that covers our expense, we're sending Scott out there to do it. And we're responding to our community. But once you start that, then it becomes a little more complicated. And what are we doing for all those other issues? You know, you can buy a Timex watch, and if something goes wrong, it's just something. You buy a Rolex, and there's 50,000 jewels in there or something. You know, then it's a lot more to fix, and it becomes an issue. So, as complicated, as simple as it seems on the surface, it's more complicated. And but I think it's worth asking Mr. Barbian to bring it up to the city council. If we did that, what would the repercussions be? How would you handle that? Would you standardize it somehow? Because it throws another wrench into the works, and I think it ought to be thought about very carefully before we just say, yeah, we can do that.
I have a question. Is there a minimum charge on the sewer in the summer? Because right now, if you have a snowbird now that's just not using water, does this, you know, then they're charging the rates based on that.
Yes, that is my understanding. It's based on the minimum charge at that point.
Yeah.
So in theory, this wouldn't have, and it shouldn't have any impact. It's more a peace of mind for the homeowner if we decided to turn it off at the curb stop.
Yeah, I mean, I think it should be an option for people to be able to turn it off if they're gonna leave, just for peace of mind, so their house isn't flooded when they come back for some reason. But I think there should be a fee for that, obviously, for the time, the labor hours spent on it, and also you probably should have someone home before you turn it back on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Mr. Mayor, do you have a question or a comment?
Yeah, it's absolutely no effect of the city or the city sewer system for the retirees. Retirees do not use water except for under their normal circumstances, which is a tight loads of laundry, and then watering their flowers and their grass, which is all billed in that process. But their sewer impact doesn't change the community because they've already left. Does that make sense? That they're not here. They don't.
Yeah.
They own a home in Mesa, Arizona. They keep going down to Mesa, Arizona, and so there isn't a difference for our sewer usage.
Yeah, that's true, and I didn't think about it that way, but that's true. Whether they shut off or not, they're still not using water, so their fees are set.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'd be mostly for peace of mind, for people not having to worry if their heat went out and their water pipes burst and flooded their home.
I think it's worth doing some research and looking at what that cost might be and so forth.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay, I will do that.
Okay, 8E, budget discussion.
Yeah, actually, I had gotten ahead of myself. My intent on that was to ask if this commission would like to schedule a work session to start on those budget discussions, which we did under the calendar changes. I had forgotten I had that as an item later on. So that's what I wanted to talk about under that was a discussion of a work session.
And we've established that at 11/11.
We did, yes, that is correct.
Okay. Check that out. October 21st closed session rescheduled. I don't have my calendar in front of me. Any thoughts on a calendar date that we could use? Keith?
Again, I think we would be pretty open to reschedule that. I guess we could do it, the end of the first week in November, or sometime the second week, or, it's really the commission's prerogative for what you would be looking at. In order to post that, I do need to have a few days. So, yeah, anything.
So we have the one on 11/11,
Yes.
so you're looking for another one in November?
Well, that's a good question. We could, I guess we could do 2 meetings on the 11th if you wanted to do one closed and one open, or if you wanted to do a month.
Did you hear that, Dan?
yeah, I guess I would be open for if we're gonna get together one day, let's just kill 2 birds with 1 stone, I guess.
Here,
Okay.
I agree.
Okay.
Good. Does that require a motion, Keith?
It does, and I guess the question is, we do have the work session scheduled for 1 PM. Do you want this to be part of that meeting? Do you want it to be a separate meeting at a different time, like in the morning?
I think
We can do it right after.
It needs to be separate.
I'm sorry?
I think it needs to be separate,
Okay.
so we could, how much time do you want to have for budget discussion on the 11th? And then we need another hour.
Technically, we can do it as the same meeting, just put it at the end of the agenda, so when the budget is done, then we go into closed session.
Yeah, I think we just add it to the agenda, just those 2 things on the agenda only though.
Okay.
Yeah, if
So
that
then-
works, then let's do it that way.
Okay, so then I think we would need a motion to, Well, I think the original motion I had for the 11th was a work session talking about budget.
Yeah.
So I think we might want to just to be clear and transparent, that we're going to be adding a closed session to the 11/11
Work session.
meeting. That will be closed.
Okay,
Yeah, I think that's the proper way to do that.
so I entertain that motion if somebody wants to say it.
Who made the original motion for the 11th?
You did, Rick.
Okay. With that said, then I would add to the agenda the closed session to be on that with the budget, as Dan suggested.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. If there's any further discussion, I'd entertain that. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign, motion's carried.
I hope you're feeling better, Craig.
Thank you, I am. I'm up and taking nourishment and recovering quite well. Thanks for asking.
That's good to hear.
8G is meeting room equipment and resources.
Yes, I just merely wanted to update the commission that Barry and I have been working very closely together to better wire this room with a combination of video and audio, as well as potentially like a flat screen TV, much like the city council has, to be able to do presentations and be able to go through our agendas in more detail, and also be able to record that in a better format. So we have that for the public to witness. That's something that is ongoing. I merely wanted to point it out so the commission was aware that we are looking at improving some things here for future meetings, and we're working in partnership with the Historical Society because they do use this room when COVID, we're past COVID for, receptions and family reunions and things like that. So it helps out the Historical Society, makes this room more valuable to the community, another useful space. It'll help us with our commission meetings, so to me it's a good partnership, and I'm continuing to work with Barry on that. The Historical Society is looking at getting some money from the city through the CARES funding. We're still working out kind of some of the details, but some of that might be used to kind of help this out. As we start to kind of put that together, we may end up needing to contribute a little bit to that, so it meets our needs as well. So when I do have those details, I will bring it before the commission, but I wanted to make sure the commission knew what I was working on, and that Barry and I are collaborating on that effort.
Yes, sir.
The screens are approved, I'll do that, just like with you guys.
The screens.
Yeah, the screens that are coming or in here, those are both been already approved.
Okay.
There's a speaker for it. What's missing from the process of what the request was there's a microphone or something that would have where the committee and the city staff didn't approve that because it might not be compatible with whoever comes in, whether it's that family reunion, they'll come in and they'll plug their machine in, and so it'll be set up for them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so everybody has a different plug-in system, and so we wanted to make sure that it was just the adapter, so you can plug in that computer or that computer to whatever system and it will work, but you need your own device that you're gonna bring with you, or your family, or your wedding reception, or whatever you're gonna have.
Yeah. And I think the video camera and tripod that we're looking at is also probably not covered under CARES.
Yeah.
So that would be an example where we would, again, work in partnership with the Historical Society. Something a little bit above and beyond that helps us out. But, at the same time that, it'll be here, so the Historical Society, if something comes up and somebody else can use it and they can charge a little bit extra rent for it, it helps them out too. I think it's a good partnership.
Just have a look at their router, Greg.
We will do that. First thing tomorrow.
Is there anything, I have my 8H that I added. It occurred to me when I was doing some other bookkeeping, consulting work that COVID-19 has been problematic for a lot of people in a lot of ways. And for some it's been an extra source of income due to CARES Act, and for some it's wiped out their livelihood. So there are costs associated with this because of policies that both we as a municipality, or the municipal utility, and the city has experienced some of the same thing, is that we, eliminated the overdraft charges, or not overdraft charges,
Late fees.
The late fees, and that sort of thing. Those are impacting our bottom line. Are we tracking those as separate items? And if not, can we? And do we also have any column for any additional income we may have received federally, state, municipal, whatever income has come in that would help offset some of that same stuff? I'm not asking for detail. I'm asking you to look into that. And at our budget meeting, I'd like you to be able to say, look, here's what's happened, by the way, and here's some numbers that you ought to be aware of. Because I think and this clearly gets into the opinion category, but I don't think COVID-19 is going away anytime soon. We're going to be dealing with this as members of the community, but also as a municipal utility. We're going to be dealing with the impact of this for quite some time. So I want to make sure we're not missing something. So this is my charge to you to say, pay attention here, find out what it is that we're doing. And you may have that number already, but it's just a concern.
Yes, sir.
That's all that I have for 8H. Anything else before we move for adjournment?
No, I have nothing.
Would you like to make the last motion of the day, Dan?
Sure, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion, the second?
Second.
A motion that has been seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 3-0, motion carried. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
We are adjourned.